good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Season 2 of Midday with Trey. I'm your host, Trey. Let's get right into the show. Let's get right into it. Today's guest is in real estate, construction, public speaking, and he's the host of the Mamba Mentality podcast. Let's give it up for Rob Clemons.
Thank you, man.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Man, this place is beautiful, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so if you would, can you tell the audience just like a little history, like maybe like a short biography just about yourself?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a son of an Air Force chaplain, so I've been all over the world. Graduated high school in Lakenheath, England. Shout out to Lakenheath for anybody who's interested. And then I went to Coastal Carolina, graduated from here with a business degree. Got into the housing industry shortly into my professional career. And I've done a little bit everywhere through. You know, I'm a licensed builder in South Carolina. I own a business called Carolina Bays Real Estate. And it's also a remodeling company. And of course, I do the Leader Mentality show, so love doing that, man. As you know, I've had you on. You did great. Yeah.
That was a fun time coming on there in the Earth Cafe shop. I've never done. That was my first podcast that I've been a guest on, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We had some good coffee out there and stuff. It was a good vibe.
We did. Okay, so we're gonna break the ice real fast here. What is your happiest childhood moment that you can remember?
Happiest childhood. Okay, well, I'm gonna break it down to when I was 8 years old. Because now I'm gonna tell you, for people who are the son of a preacher's kid, you'll know my pain. We don't make a lot of money unless you're like on TV or something. So my parents, man, I don't know what it was, but this year they splurged. They got me a stereo, and they had a little robot that came in that was programmed. They came in and said my name. It's like, good morning, Rob. And then still they one-upped it. They got me a video game system, and I don't know if it was my happiest moment, but I got to tell you, as far as being stunned on Christmas morning, I was like, wow, I'm in a toy store right now. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay, cool. I just like to hear that in the beginning, break the ice, and after that, nothing's awkward.
Yeah.
So you said you're a Coastal alumni. So how has Coastal changed? Actually, let's talk about your time at Coastal.
Yeah.
What was your, when you think back to Coastal, what do you think about?
Man, I think about dorms. You know, we had some, I was living in what they call the old dorms now. You know, the ones, the concrete buildings over there. And so some of my good memories were, you know, I came here and I went and lived in the dorms, which for a lot of students, you know, that's your first time around away from your mom and dad.
Right.
So that was cool. It was always cool to, you know, you could wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and probably somebody's up doing something. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of camaraderie. We used to do something back then called dorm wars occasionally. So we get out and compete against the other dorms out there and do tug of war and stuff like that. So yeah, man, had a lot of good times, but campus has just come so far since then, man. It's just impressive to see.
How have you seen Coastal change?
You know, I think that the big deal when I was going here, and you know, I graduated like 2000, so it's been a minute, but when I was going here, the big deal was, you know, wall school was like really kind of fresh at that point. And, you know, we had, you know, a lot of things were up and coming, but now I look around and I look at, you know, the HTC Center, and you look at the football stadium, and you look at just so many resources out here that I think students here are blessed because we've got just a great location, but it's also like a technologically advanced school. So I've been blown away every time I come here, man. Yeah,
that was one of the things that I noticed when I toured here compared to other schools that I was touring. Like, you know, we had technology and we have access, like we had in Edwards College, we have like the cage where people are just rebranded as the Johnny Cages in the Mortal Kombat. Okay. So that's pretty funny. If you go past it, it's like a character.
Are people like finishing people in there? Like, finish him? No?
They should be. But they have like access to like cameras and you know, stuff like that. They, for financial reasons or just reasons that they don't have it, they wouldn't have access to it. So I think it's really cool that we have access to that at Coastal for any student. And studios like this that we're in right now is, you know, maybe in the industry sense, it's not, you know, as high tech, but as a student coming in or even working here, I'm like, yeah, let's use it. Let's use the green screen. Let's use the cameras. Let's use the light. Let's use it all.
There's so many opportunities for Coastal students. And you know, I think anybody who's even thinking about coming to Coastal, I'd put it up against any school in the country, really. You know, and my first year I went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And much older school, bigger school, right? But when I came here, it was already a family atmosphere, almost like, you know, it's very much felt like a little town. And the great thing is, no matter how much advancement we've had, that never changed. I still feel like you come here and it just feels like a little small hometown vibe, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into after Coastal. How did you get into the real estate and construction fields?
So it's interesting, and one of my messages when I'm talking to groups is, especially younger groups, is always take each opportunity you're given and maximize it, because you don't know where it's going to take you.
That's true.
And I'm saying that to say, I've been in groups of construction people just getting into the industry.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, who all wanted to be in construction when you were a little kid?
Yeah.
And nobody raises their hand, right? Especially not nowadays.
Yeah.
And so here's how my path got me into construction. It's been a great career in real estate.
Yeah.
So I graduated with that business degree, and I got an opportunity working for a builder as their marketing director.
Oh, okay.
And I can tell you that if you're going to be a marketing director somewhere, one of the things is you can know how to do marketing and know your 5 Ps and all that good stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you have to know the business you're working in to be successful. So I started studying, and I started just like pulling every information about building I could. And at some point I was like, I'm investing all this time into this. I might as well get my building license.
Right.
So I go get my builder's license, and then I started getting credentials and recognition. And then, as I'm going forward, the HBA makes me their president locally.
Yeah.
And then I get recognized in Pro Builder magazine as one of their 40 under 40 in the country.
Nice. Congratulations.
So as I started doing all this, I'm like, this is my career, and it'll be a recognition to you just like that. And of course I went ahead and got my real estate license so that I could buy land, build the home, sell the home. So it all just tied together.
Yeah.
Now we're just enterprising, man, adding more people, adding more agents, and shoot, man, always adding good people like the people going to Coastal Carolina right now.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, and so how did the Leadership Mentality podcast spawn from, that?
Man, I wanted to do a podcast for years, like before it ever even got popular, because I was always on this side of the mic.
Right.
Somebody's interviewing me, and I always kind of felt like very comfortable speaking with a mic in my face.
Right.
Well, but I thought, I want to try something different. I want to do something where I can get out and hear from other people. So I wanted to do that for a while, and last year, I was just sitting there. I was like, you know what? We're going to do it. Let's go get some mics. Let's go equipment up. So we were at a home show, and I just said, hey, look, I got a bunch of business owners out here who would probably love to talk about their business. Yeah. And we just started doing it, and it kind of took off.
Nice.
And the thing is that since then, we started talking to, we've had some sports athletes on the show. We've had NASCAR drivers. We've had musicians that have got top hits. So it's been pretty cool to be on so far.
Yeah, that's cool. You're living my dream.
Right.
So just a little bit of cross-platform promotion for Leadership Mentality Podcast. You can tell them where to find the Leadership Mentality Podcast on all platforms.
Man, we're on Google Music. You can find us on Apple. So you go to the podcast store, we're right there.
Yeah.
Spotify, you can find us on there. I have a website. It's called theleadermentality.com.
Yeah.
And also on all the social platforms. So definitely love people to come out, check us out, and see what we're doing. We're only in season 2 of the Leader Mentality show, but I got some secrets coming up for this season. Okay. They're pretty good. One of my guys is a NASCAR driver named Bryant Barnhill, and he's actually up and coming NASCAR driver. But it's cool talking to him because he'll tell me stories about behind the scenes NASCAR without hesitation. So it's a good listen for sure.
Okay, well, make sure you guys check that out. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into some leadership questions.
All right.
Do you think do you think people are born with leadership, or do you think it can be taught? Is like a skill that can be taught?
Man, I think it's a little of both, to be honest with you. I almost look at people as bundles of energy. Okay. I'm gonna get some physics talks going on. Shout out to the physics department, right? So we're like little bundles of energy. Right. But sometimes it's unrealized energy. You got to get that opportunity. So I think there's leaders out there that just haven't been triggered yet. Sometimes you haven't had that opportunity yet. So I believe that it is within you. Some people are naturally happy to sit in the background a little bit, and some people are more likely to take the lead. But ultimately, leadership shows itself in different ways, and that's the thing. Is my message to the students. Sometimes you can be a leader just by silently going about business, and people will say, "Wow, that person's serious." And then sometimes leadership shows itself in a more vocal setting. I tend to be a vocal leader, but the thing that I would tell you is, every day that you walk out of your house, you're representing yourself in a way. That's leadership in itself, man. So you don't have to be up there in front of Coastal Carolina, football stadium doing things to be the coach of the team. Right. You can just be that person going about business and show it.
Fair enough. Okay. And so this is like the final question before we move on to our next segment. Where did you told me about this, so I think it'd be interesting to tell again. Where did the name for the Leadership Mentality Podcast come from?
Well, that's a great question. So was looking to rebrand the show to talk about what we actually talked about.
Right.
Because I had one of my biggest guests on. He's a New York Times best-selling writer. And when I was on the beginning of the show, he was asking me what the name of my show was, and I'm not even going to bother telling you. And I was explaining it to him. I'm like, well, we talk to leaders, and we kind of talk about what means something to them.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, that doesn't fit with your show at all. I'm like, oh, man, he just busted me, right? So when I was rebranding, I said, I need to do something that's about what we're actually talking about. And I've always been a Kobe Bryant fan with the Mamba mentality. What's the Mamba mentality? It's, you work hard, you're driven. If you listen to him going back to high school, he was like, I want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, right? So I was like, what makes a person like that? But, there's only one Kobe and there's only one Michael Jordan or so. But I was like, there's still something for everybody who makes it successfully, and what makes them like that? What drives them? And to this day, Trey, I really want to know the answer, and because it's a little different for everybody.
Okay.
So as I sit down and ask this question, I'll find that people have different drives and different reasons, and it's been pretty cool to listen to, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. That is the interview segment, but we do have a new segment on the show. It's called Rapid Response.
All right.
And so this is basically like categories.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna pull up my phone here for a timer, and I'm gonna give you 20 seconds to answer these 3 questions. And each question you have to answer, you have to list.
I got 20 to answer all 3, so I got 7 seconds a question. All right.
Yes.
I can do it.
And so it'll start once I ask the first question. And but each of these, you have to name 3 in each of these categories, basically.
3 in each category.
All right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'll try.
Name 3 oceans.
3. Atlantic, Pacific, Indian.
Okay. Name 3 types of cars.
Lamborghini, Ford Mustang, Chevy Camaro.
Okay. Name 3 qualities of good leaders.
Bold, consistent, care.
Okay. 5 seconds to spare. We're gonna put you up to the. We're gonna have a leaderboard now when we end the season. See who got the fastest time. But thank you so much, Rob, for coming on the show. Leader Mentality podcast. Make sure you guys check that out. And we really appreciate you for coming on Midday with Trey.
Man, it's been amazing. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. You can go far like this.
Thank you so much. But before you go, Rob does have a hat that he would like to share with us. So that's coming up in Hat of the Week.
Okay, well, it's time for Hat of the Week, and I'm going to tell you about my Hat of the Week, all right? So I wore this originally for Halloween a couple years ago. We were doing a fundraiser for some kids, and we needed some creative costumes. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go as something they call Bone Daddy, whatever that means, right? So I had this cool hat, and I thought, man, this is great, and a skeleton mask that went with it.
Yeah.
So we're doing a little kids retreat, and so the first thing is, I realized it looked pretty cool to me, but the mask was cut in my face. So first thing is I had to do this for 2 hours straight. Every time I moved, these little plastic grooves would cut my face. But the best part of it was I just thought it was kind of a smooth looking hat.
Yeah.
And then these kids came by, and one kid said the thing that really topped them all. They said, "Is that your real face?"
Oh, God.
And I was like, man, I hope not, because if I look like a skeleton, that's a problem. So anyway, to this day, I kind of have some fond memories on it. A lot of sweat went in this hat.
Yeah.
A lot of face cutting, but it shows how committed I am to raising money for little kids in need.
Exactly. Would you mind putting it on real quick?
Oh yeah. I mean, it just fits about like this.
It fits your head nicely.
That's what I thought too. And I could pull a rabbit out of here.
Exactly.
I could do all kinds of things.
You could do voodoo with the bones. You could do anything.
Right. It's kind of smooth. I might walk out with this on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rob Clemons, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that wraps up this episode of Midday with Trey. I hope you enjoyed it. And make sure you follow all of our social media pages down below. We have an Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube page for, behind the scenes stuff and all that good stuff. But until next time, I'm going to see you later. Same time, same place. Bye. That was it.